Hello beautiful people, my name is Vendi and I'm here today to do the Bookish Scenarios tag. I'll leave the original creator's video in the description box below, and I was tagged by my friend Julianne over at Random Girl Reading, so I'll have her video linked down below as well. But yeah, I have a relatively short time to film this video and a lot of things to do today that I'm using this video to procrastinate doing, so without further ado, maybe it's best if I just get started. So I'm just reading my questions off here. Question number 1, you have to get rid of all your books and you can only keep one from each of these genres: contemporary, fantasy, nonfiction, and one other genre of your choosing. What books do you keep? This is my nightmare. So already I'm feeling called out and disrespected by this tag because there's no way that I could narrow it down to just one. So I'm using my condensed Boston book collection, which I thought would make it easier to narrow things down, and it did marginally. So the contemporary that I would keep is How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake. For fantasy, if you know me, then you know there's no surprise. It'd be my signed copy of Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. She's reminding me that darkness is not always foe, though this question has placed the darkness on my heart so deep that it has to be foe, in this case, Susan. The nonfiction book that I would keep is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. My boyfriend got me this when I was going through a really rough patch of time in my writing career. It's not a career yet. One day, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it was really useful then, and I think it'll be useful in the future. Plus, nonfiction was one of the categories, so The War of Art. And the genre of my choosing, because I'm trash, I have to cheat at least a little bit, I decided to do fantasy again. And I chose my signed copy of The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman. So moving on to question number 2. You're at the bookstore and you hear a teenager telling their mom that they don't like to read, but their mom insists they pick something. You walk over and recommend a book you think is great for people who aren't big on reading. What is it? So it's not necessarily a specific book as much as it is a type of book, and I would say I would recommend some manga for that person. Manga is super varied and super addicting, and it's sort of written formulaically to keep you invested in reading. So even if you're not a big reader, I feel like you could get into a manga series really easily. It's also a very visual medium. There's a lot of pictures as well as text, so you fly through it really quickly, and it's really encouraging, I think, that when you're not a reader, you get to finish a thing fairly quickly. I feel like that keeps you wanting to read more because it feels like an accomplishment once you finished a book. And then after I got them sold on manga, I'd ask what the kids' favorite movie genre was. So if they like horror or suspense, maybe I'd go for Death Note. And if they like romantic comedies, maybe I'd give them Ouran High School Host Club, just something like that. Question number 3. You're not feeling yourself and you need a pick-me-up. What book do you read to put yourself in a great mood? So if all of my books were here, it would be a super easy answer, and it would be either Peter Pan or The Little Prince, 2 of my favorite books of all time. But since I'm keeping this down to my Boston branch of my library, I have to say a section of Jane Unlimited. These stories are so whimsical and so cute, except for that one horror one, which is terrifying, and I would definitely skip over it. But one of the earlier stories in Jane Unlimited, just because it's short, it's sweet, and good wins in the end. So definitely a comfort read for me. Question number 4. You go back in time a day for your teenage years. What book would you most likely have caught yourself reading? Teenage me, predictably, would definitely have been reading something by either Cassandra Clare or Holly Black. Not much has changed. Question number 5. Your friend surprises you with a 4-day trip and you have 1 hour to pack. What book do you bring to read on the way? Okay, this friend is just the winner at friendship forever, basically. I guess it depends where the trip is to. But, you know, an all expenses paid 4-day trip, that's phenomenal. I don't have any friends that rich, but I like the train of thought that Lindsay, the person that created this tag, had, and I think it's really cute. So I do a lot of reading on trips, usually during the trip there and the trip back. I don't really read any differently on vacation than I do anywhere else, so I would just pick the next 2 books on my TBR, and those are 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez and I Darken by Kirsten White. Question number 6. Your house has been robbed. Don't worry, everyone is safe, but your bookshelf has been raided. What book do you hope is really safe? What jerks? Like, why would you raid a bookshelf? Like, I guess I have a little bit of sympathy because if you're stealing, at least you're stealing something that is going to keep you literate, but you're still a terrible person. There's a library just down the street. Like, we're in Boston. There's so many branches of the library. Just get a card. It's free. So for this, I'm actually going to take it back to my main personal library that's still at my parents' house. And the book that I would really be worried about is this big book of mythology that my grandparents got me when I finished the 5th grade. But since I don't have that with me, I'm going to say a book of fairy tales, because I love fairy tales and I would be really, really upset if somebody took them from me. And finally, question number 7. Your friend borrows a book and returns it in awful condition. Do you, A, just pretend you haven't noticed? You wish. B, ask them to repurchase it. Or C, secretly do the same thing to something of theirs. That's petty in a way that I'm not yet. That is my nightmare. More than almost even having to choose just one book of each genre is my nightmare. I don't really loan my books out to people unless I trust them a whole lot and I know that they're as anal about their books as I am, which isn't too many people. So my lending list is really short. And I know that the people that I do trust would, well, one, they wouldn't let my books get damaged awfully. And 2, if there was an accident, right, like some weird thing happened, they would offer to buy it replacement for themselves. I wouldn't have to ask. And if it was a signed book, they'd bring me the tattered signed book and then also bring me a new copy of the book itself. So just I have a thing to read. So I'm not sure if this question really applies, but if it did, if for some reason someone just tried to give me back a completely wrecked book, I don't think I'd have a problem asking them to repurchase it, because I mean, that's my money going down the drain if somebody brings me back a thing that is completely damaged that I paid for. And it's also just a sign of disrespect, I think, to completely destroy someone's book. So yeah, I'd have no problem asking for reimbursement. I wouldn't destroy something of theirs. I feel like that's just a really good way to escalate things in a very negative way, and nope, too petty. Too petty for me. So thank you guys for watching. I had a lot of fun doing this tag, and now is the time when I tag some of you guys. So for this tag, I would like to tag Hannah from Hannah Books and Other Things, my darling Lou from Books Are a Way of Life, May from May Reads, Gracie from Diary of GB, and my absolute darling Lisa from West Coast Reads. If you haven't already, I would recommend you go check out all their channels, and I'll have them linked below so you can do just that. But until then, guys, that's it from me. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you liked me, maybe consider subscribing. But until then, I'll see you next time, guys. Goodbye.